Happy Hump Day, Tampa Motormouth in the zone behind the microphone. Joel Verlin here with you, getting ready to just do a Week 11 whip around. Of course, the main story has to be, of course, Jamar Chase in the press conference after the game denying that he spit on Ramsey. The NFL, of course, scrutinized the entire game, determining that, in fact, he did. And then he appealed, saying he didn't spit directly in his face. If he would have spit at him, he would have spit directly in Jalen Ramsey's face. His appeal was denied, so he is now going to be suspended one game as, definitely going to miss him. I know at least one of my fantasy leagues, so just a little bit of craziness. All of a sudden, the spit happened between Jalen Carter and Dak Prescott way back, it seems, in the mists of time. Of course, that happened in the beginning of the game, so the offending player was ejected, and the entire game counted as their suspension. But pretty expensive penalty for Jamar Chase, as before bonuses, that's $448,023. After bonuses is something like $500,000 some odd dollars. It's cray. That's a very, very expensive spinning. So and then we'll start off, of course, with the Thursday night football game that was. Well, it wasn't much of a game for the Jets. 27-14. Trevion Henderson running wild again for the second game row, but looks like Ramondre Stevenson may be back in action. So the Trevion Henderson era, or at least dominance, might be over, kind of like when Rico Dowdle was running wild before Chuba Hubbard came back, but then Panthers finally realized Rico is the man. So, Jets win streak is over. Patriots are them, and they are dangerous heading into Week 12 with 9 wins. Jets, not so much. Their 9 is on the other side of the dash. And just this week, changing quarterbacks. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor, as apparently the Justin Fields era is over. Then we go to what hopefully is the last flippin' international game with Sunday morning football. That I was joking about it on social media, saying we apologize in advance just because we know how bad some of these games can be. It actually turned out to be not a bad game. As far as a football game goes, went to overtime. Dolphins won the thriller. Not a thrill if you were hoping Jalen Waddle was going to get you some fantasy action. But everything went to Ollie Gordon, and so you're going, where are the touchdowns, brah? Well, not for Jalen Waddle, and not that game. So after the victory, Dolphins winning again? What? Is this a parallel universe? Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was asked about where else he might want to play now that he's played in Frankfurt and Madrid. And Tua said, shoot, it'd be pretty cool to play in Jerusalem. That'd be sick. And then Mike McDaniel ended up getting into the act of sneaking into the press conference into the second row, asking Ollie Gordon, tell us about how well you're coached. So Dolphins gotta love the Dolphins when they're winning, and maybe McDaniels really did troll those Bills fan with that video that was going all over the internet. Then we go to, of course, the early slate, and falconing again has once again, you don't know which Falcon team is going to show up. The team that can beat and shock the Bills, or the team that can lose to the flippin' Panthers in overtime, because Falcons fall to the Panthers 30-27, and add injury to insult. Because, not only is Drake London going to miss some time with the injury, but Penix Jr., Michael Penix Jr., feared to be done for the season. And now, it's confirmed, because buckle up, Captain Kirk is going to be for the quarterback for the Falcons coming next week. Boy, And when that happens, Drake London this season with Kirk Cousins behind the center. Last 7 games with Cousins at quarterback was wide receiver 15, average finish, wide receiver 34. And Michael Penix Jr. has now had 5 season-ending injuries in the last 8 seasons since he played in both college and the NFL. Ouch. Then we go to a game where you're used to it. Buck fans, you're used to this mid-season slump. You are used to it. I'm used to it. I know if you've been a Bucks fan for any length of time, just buckle up. Because you were thinking, night before, no Kincaid. Okay, 1 less target for Josh Allen. No Coleman. What? So no Kincaid, no Coleman. Well, that's no problem for Josh Allen. He's still got the Bucks for 6 flipping touchdowns. 6. Let me say it again. 6 flipping touchdowns. Bucks defense has stopped. Would you like to start them again? Abort, retry, ignore. So, yeah, of course, afterwards, because with the whole very surprised Keon Coleman, because the Dalton Kincaid, a bit of a surprise, but the Keon Coleman healthy scratch really shocked everybody, and apparently he was missing something by being late. He was being late to a team meeting. That's what caused him his healthy scratch, as Dean Dawkins said in the post-game presser. Okay, yeah, everything is cool, but it's time for him to grow up, and he knows it. Of course, there's a longer soundbite there, but yes, apparently has happened before. It's not the only time. So, yeah, no Kincaid, no Coleman. Josh Allen's like, yeah, like the I'll do it myself. Yeah, but down go the Bucks. Bills absolutely the score. The score did not show how badly that game went for my Buccos. 44-32 every time. Every time you thought the Bucks were back in it, or they had a chance. Are you telling me there's a chance? Josh Allen just went yoink. Take that. Thank you. And Bucks fall 6-4. But the Falcons lost. So remember that. The Falcons lost. That's good. It's not good the Bucks lost, but it is good that the Falcons lost. So, yeah, NFC South. What a division. Then we go from the Bucks and Bills, the Jaguars and Chargers, and all of a sudden we have the good Jaguars again. What? 35-6, absolutely spanking the Chargers. Just Justin Herbert. All of a sudden, what the bleep is going on? Lad McConkey is back to being sad McConkey. Yeah, that's just not what you expect to see from the Chargers after that start. Now, and then all of a sudden the Jaguars did absolutely fantastic time by beating the Chiefs on Monday Night Football and winning the skid. Now all of a sudden, now they're back. Now the Chargers, who were on in Fuego, are now getting the polar vortex. It'll be interesting to see what the true identity is for both of these teams. Who are the real Chargers? Are they good? Are they bad? And who are the real Jaguars? Are they good or are they bad? With both of these teams, I really don't think we have the answer to that question. Then we go to the Bears and the Vikings as definitely one of the better games than the Jags. As of course, the Bears do it again, beating the Vikings 19-17. And in case you were wondering, how bad a coach was Matt Eberflus. Ben Johnson, 11 games into his head coaching career, has exceeded the number of road wins with 4 that Matt Eberflus had in his 2.5-year career. Let that sink in. Eberflus was not good. Bears are good, 7-3, and Vikings, and I didn't know what Ryan was talking about with the whole 9 thing till I saw it. And I'm like, okay, that's cringy. Do we want to hear any more? 9. And Packers and Giants. Packers survived the Jameis Winston experience such as it is, because it's the Jameis Winston experience, and boy, very, very eloquent and interesting and energetic for press conferences and to get people all wired up and fired up. Electric on the field. It can keep both teams in the game. Hey, we've never heard that one before. But oh boy, Packers kind of get banged up in this game as Jordan Love exited, but then came back. Josh Jacob exited. I don't believe he came back, but apparently it is not season ending, so at least that's the good news as far as that one is concerned. I mean, Romeo Dobbs got a little bit dinged up. But, yeah, Packers escape. How about the Giants? All the craziness going on with the Giants. Carter, the sleeping. He was suspended for 6 plays for this game. And they never really told you why. And you sort of had to be a detective and figure everything out, like what happened. And it got on the back page of the New York Post. And then the craziest thing is that here's Abdul Carter, who's already in trouble and already got suspended for 6 plays, basically. And now all of a sudden you have Abdul Carter and Cam Scatteraboo at a Monday Night Raw event getting into a altercation. And even if it's a fake altercation, it's still scripted. Why is somebody who is going around one of those contraption who just had one of the most ridiculous injuries that you never, ever want to see again? I mean, I'm talking ever. That was just one of those you're like, why are you getting into a shoving match with somebody that something could happen? You have to imagine the front office was making a call to somebody when all of a sudden that came up on somebody's radar. Not exactly what you would call good decision making there. No. And speaking of good decision making, I covered it. Top story, of course, Jamar Chase and the latest, the second spitting incident of the 2025 season. Eagles and Steelers, not much of a game here. 34-12 as Steelers. What? Yeah, Jamar Chase didn't exactly do a lot in this game other than get into trouble. And one of the things that came out of this game, of course, now you have Aaron Rodgers with the injury, but he still wants to go against the Bears because he's Aaron Rodgers. Okay. And you're going to have to figure out what Mike Tomlin is going to do. Does he have Rodgers just go out there, take all the precautions and measures that he can, get it up, and just go ahead and do it? I don't know how, if that's such a good deal. How well does the Pittsburgh do in Chicago historically? Yeah, it might be a better idea to let Rudolph take the sleigh over this week. Sort of let Aaron Rodgers recuperate. I know he wants to go in and make the Bears his daddy. That's what he wants to do. But I want to sit this one out. Might want to recoup, but it'll be interesting to see, drama-wise, and if Aaron Rodgers can perform with the injury going forward. Just the Bengals. Oof. Are we going to see Joe Burrow anyway? Flacco apparently might be dinged up a bit enough that could we see Burrow? Do you want to put him in harm's way so soon when it doesn't look like there's much of a future for the Bengals right now? So yeah, Bengals and the Steelers. Always interesting, and you gotta also Coach Mike Tomlin's comment about if someone spits at you, just do what comes naturally. I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, never a dull moment when it's Steelers and Bengals, is it? Yeah, a game that, it probably could have been a lot less duller, but the score doesn't indicate how bad the team the Titans are. Texans escape 16-13, and this game you just take away that Brian Callahan is the biggest winner because he doesn't have to sit with the stupid press conferences with his one-win team and answer why his team sucks so bad. Why does your team suck? Why are you asked? Can you tell us, Coach? Why? But yeah, he's the biggest winner. Texans get back to 500. Still has one win. Titans gonna win the second one? Do they have a chance of becoming a second win team? And does the team that lose to the Titans and give them the second win, does that count as 2 losses? Yeah, boy. Then you had the 49ers and the Cardinals. It was absolutely crazy, and the 49ers just smashing up the poor Cards, 41-22. Cardinals quarterback Jacoby Brissett, that's easy for me to say, completed an NFL record 47 passes. Let me say that again. NFL quarterback Jacoby Brissett for the Cardinals completed a NFL record 47 completions, 47 passes today. 47 passes in the loss. Not a win, a loss. Not the game. We're talking about practice. Jacoby Brissett, 40 freaking 7 passes. Yeah, that shorts your brain out. You go, okay, well, they did that many passes. Surely they won. That would be like the Padme meme. You threw for 47 passes, but you won, right? Right? But yeesh, and not good news if you have Ricky Pearsall sitting there on your IR or your bench, and you're just kind of going, yo, what up, Ricky Pearsall? Dealing with that knee. Had 1 reception on 3 targets. Three targets in Sunday's 41-22 beatdown of the Port Cardinals. Pearsall returned to the starting lineup finally after missing 49ers' last 5 contests with a right knee injury. That's where the positive news ends, because after the superhuman wideout failed, the sophomore wideout failed to gain just a yard. That's not very superhuman. So yeah, maybe superhuman to get back to even playing, but definitely not a superhuman day in reality or in fantasy. Yikes, just not even a yard, just all that effort, all that grit, all that, let me get in, just that just has to be. Another thing that's just the end of that Seahawks game. Seahawks and Rams, so close yet so far. Rams win 21-19, but even with as bad as a game as the Seahawks have, the Seahawks D kept them in it to where the final shot, field goal, they still had a chance with that final field goal, the ball sailing right through it. You were willing that ball to go through those 2 goalposts. You were willing it, even if you didn't have a bet on it, because you wanted the Seahawks to win to upset the Rams for the fight that they had, all the ghost Sam Darnold was seeing that day. And then it was no good. And yeah, we're all probably like Seahawks linebacker Ernest Jones on Sam Darnold's 4-interception game. Sam has had us in every expletive game. For him to sit there and say it's his fault, no, it's not. If you got anything to say, quite frankly, expletive you, and you can guess what the expletive is. And yeah, so yeah, well, yeah, you can imagine just a little bit heated, as you can imagine, after a game like that. And the crazy thing, the whole crazy thing of, not this week, because this week Bo Nix was better, clicking back to last week, when you had Bo Nix and that game, when they was getting booed by everybody, and that was a mile high, and he didn't have exactly what you would call a good fantasy game. Fun fact, you know who had a worse game last week, the week of the Thursday night, the Raiders-Broncos crap fest? That would be Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, that week, had an actually worse fantasy game than Bo Nix did. Because I was going to my bench and I'm going, well, I had Sam Darnold, and I'm like, oh my God, he was worse. So yeah, Sam Darnold isn't, he's not exactly having what you would call a fun time of it right now, is he? But he's still 7-3. Rams now 8-2, and oh boy, my Bucks get the Rams this week on Sunday Night Football. Boy, that's gonna be something. Not sure what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be something. Speaking of something, you had the Ravens going to Cleveland, and for a while there, it looked like the Ravens weren't gonna win that one, but they pulled it out, and you had at least 5 games like that. All of a sudden, you're going, well, this team doesn't look like it's gonna win, but then all of a sudden, then they pull it out. Ravens smacked the Browns 23-16, and yeah, Shedeur Sanders' regular season debut. You ready for this? 4 for 16, 47 yards, 0 TDs. I'm saying again, 0 TDs, 1 INT, 2 sacks, 1 intentional grounding, and a passer rating of 13.5. Is that good? But yeah, you've had all the talk. I'm not gonna pile on. All I'll say, Shador, the best way to shut all the narratives up is to beat the living crap out of the Raiders coming up this week when you have had a full week. Because if you don't, if you lose this game, I think it's just going to follow you around for the rest of your NFL career, however long or however short that might be. But it's put up or shut up time. It's crunch time. They're handing the ball to you. You're the field marshal. You're the captain. Time to step up. And let's see what you got. Somebody else who showed us what they got. Speaking of Bo Nix, I mentioned him with that week with the Broncos, with the Raiders. Ugly 10 game that we still remember that feel like it set football back at least probably a century or two good. But Broncos and Chiefs, Broncos win 22-19. Chiefs, the Kansas City Swifties, are sad. Yeah, they're sad as the Chiefs. The Chiefs are now, are you ready? This is my favorite sad of the week. My favorite. The Chiefs are now 0-5. 0-5 in one possession games this season. Last season, 11-0. This season, 0-5. Yeah, and then you had a Broncos tight end Adam Troutman. When asked about online criticism of quarterback Bo Nix, said, quote, "We know what he's made of, and we don't really care what people have to say. So, Dragon Slayer 69, with his 7-Eleven Slurpee in his mom's basement, I don't give a expletive what he has to say, right? Oh, doesn't either." Ouch. I think I'm glad I'm not Dragon Slayer 69. Lions and the Eagles, Sunday night game. All I'll say about this game is, it's a bad call when Chris flippin' Collinsworth calls out the refs on Sunday Night Football, literally calls them out. There had to be a memo from the 345 sent to NBC. You need to tell Mr. Collinsworth. You need to tell Mr. Collinsworth to bring it down a few notches on the Sunday night program in concern to criticizing the officiating, which was absolutely, positively, completely, 100% right, and there was not one single wrong call during the entire contest. So we might want to bring that to the attention of Mr. Collinsworth and any other announcers out there, that Rule 1, the officials are always right. Rule 2, if ever the officials are wrong, refer to Rule 1. We move on to, this wasn't more of a game. This was more of a memorial service, of course, for Marshawn Nealon, a 24-year-old Cowboy defense player who very tragically took his own life last week completely out of the blue, just 3 days after a Monday night football game when he scored a touchdown. All of a sudden, somebody at the top, at the literal, what many people would be thinking at the pinnacle top, being a football player, being with somebody, getting ready to bring a new life into the world, and something happened, and his life came to a tragic end. You had all of the games with the moment of silence, and this one, you had the Cowboys pull together. Well, most of them, we'll get to that in a second, pull together and absolutely, totally, completely own, and absolutely dismantle and decimate the poor Raiders. 33-16, not much of a game. I really watched just for the first half because I knew fantasy. I was up with my Drake Mate team. I was up by 6, and I was like, okay, yeah, we won this one. All my players are played. They still have George Pickens. That means I lost. So, because I knew, because I was looking at all of George Pickens' game logs, and just, sort of, that's when you say that word, because you knew. And I was waiting for it to happen, the George Pickens long run that I knew would seal my week for fantasy, for a team that it should be like in the top 1, 2, or 3 slots, but because of all the crazy wins and losses, I'm like 5th or 6th place, and Gotta love fantasy parody, right? Don't you guys gotta love it? And then when George Pickens had that long run and then the touchdown, like, yeah, turn out the lights, my party's over, and really wasn't interested in the second half. Yeah, no, just a whole lot of nah, just a whole lot of nah, and then and you have the interesting the number one interesting story from this one, because you have one of the narratives out there. The Cowboys are all together, they're all pulling together, and they're all one unit now. Well, if they were one unit now, why did they sit George Pickens and CD Lamb for one series in the first quarter? Because all of a sudden you're like, well, how come they're not out on the field? What's going on? And it was very nebulous, because all it says they were missing something. Well, what were they missing that caused them to be sit for one series? Absolutely wild, absolutely crazy. It's sort of like the Abdul Carter thing up there in New York, where all of a sudden, what's going on? Why is he being sit down for 6 plays? What did he miss? What was he absent from? What was he late to? So all kinds of crazy things. But man, you have to feel for Geno. You got to feel for Raiders quarterback Geno Smith, who on his offensive struggles. I mean, that's when it's tough, when you have to answer. When you have that kind of game, then you have to answer in the presser. Geno Smith, quote, I keep saying if something doesn't look right out there, blame it on me. You keep saying if something doesn't look right out there, blame it on me. If your kids mess up at school, blame it on me. If your car breaks down going to work, blame it on me. You just have to feel for the guy. Put Aiden O'Connell in and give Geno a break this week. Just boy. And of course, have to go for the winners. A lot of us out there who ended up getting to watch and enjoy this week of football, even with the Bucs lost. I still count myself as a winner, just because that was a good week of football. Good week of football. What losers just have. Yeah, not NFL, but just South Carolina and the blown lead. Oh my God, just wow! And you also have to throw in the Texas State Trooper, because when you get pyro exposure and not in a good way, yeah. Jamar Chase just for not only spitting, then fibbing about it, then appealing it on a technicality and trying to be a lawyer, he gets 2 losses. He gets 2 losses this week. And thanks, and now I don't have you in my fantasy league this week, so thanks for that. Bengals don't have you, and whole bunch of fantasy managers were all excited. Yay, alright, first or second pick, I get Jamar Chase. Not this week, you don't. How about Cardinals? Jacoby Brissett setting the completion record in blowout loss to 49ers. They set a record. Anybody there? Anybody care? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah, Lions clock management. That was just that whole game. Yeah. I think they're gonna bounce back this week. So I was looking, I'm like, oh, who do they play? Yeah, I think they're gonna bounce back. Raiders game plan on Monday night. Granted, I have no qualifications whatsoever at all to stand on a sideline and coach. Zero qualifications. That being said, could I have done any worse with the play calling on Monday night for the Raiders? Could you have done any worse? Any of us? Seriously? The Raiders. So many coaches. I was listening to, was it Patrick Maher last night, and I didn't realize how many coaches the poor Raiders have been through, and because their last good coach was Gruden, if you think about it. Last good coach was Gruden, and he was the casualty of everything that was aimed to try to get Dan Snyder out, and he got caught in the crossfire. And they still did him dirty. But, yeah, they haven't had a good coach since Gruden. And there's a lot of coaches. And then, of course, after the Raiders game plan, definitely 2 losers. Just I don't want to put Cam as a loser, Cam Scatteraboo, but Cam Scatteraboo and Abdul Carter for going on Monday Night Raw. Why? Abdul Carter is already got in trouble, already in the press, and everyone's wondering, you're already in trouble, you're already in the doghouse. Why are all of you sudden on Monday Night Raw? Isn't that being rewarded for doing excellent things, for excellence, not being injured or not doing things that are of excellence? So yeah, and why is Cam getting in part of us, even if it's a scripted altercation, you got to believe front office somewhere is going, why is Cam getting into a scripted fight with somebody when he's supposed to be recouping and recovering? Of course, Lamb Pickens, once again, for having to sit out a series in the first quarter. Why? So, yeah. And, of course, just, yeah. And my final thought, I try to stay away from politics as much as humanly possible, because I always consider sports an oasis to get away from politics. And so I'll just bring it up that just very surprised all of a sudden that you have during Monday Night Football, because I saw the story, I'm like, during Monday Night Football, you ended up having an ad from Epstein survivors to release the files. And don't want to go down that road. Don't want to go too far into that rabbit hole. I think most people by this point are in favor of them being released, and having since that happened, that they have been voted to be released by the Congress. But my final thought is I'm not sure that I understand why people would want to push for them to be released, but I'm not sure that Monday Night Football is an appropriate place for an ad like that to occur. And not only an ad like that, I mean any kind of political ad. When it's during election time, I don't think you should have any kind of political ads during Monday Night Football or other prime time football games. I don't think you should have an ad about the files. You have all ages watching. It's just not something that I find that's appropriate. I understand why. I understand why people think that it's something that you should be made aware of, that something should have been released, because I think at the time the ad was out there, things had not been released as of yet, but just, once again, while this is something that needs to be addressed by any stretch in the imagination, needs to be addressed, people need to be held accountable for, so on and so forth, there's a time, there's a place. The evening news, political talk shows, whether right, whether left, but I do not think Monday Night Football, even an ad, is the right time and a place for something like that. This is our oasis. We're here watching sports. The ad should be sports or sports related. The endless cars, food, movies, new TV shows, but just politics just is not a place for prime time football. And that's where I'm going to end tonight. And picking real quick to end on a positive note, picking the Bills, because I know you have the Bills, you have the Texans coming up for Thursday Night Football, and I think it's a sneaky game. It's a sneaky good game, but I think the Bills just right now have the better quarterback. David Mills has been playing out of his flippin' mind. Texans just missing Joe Mixon, because I just saw there was a story that timeline for Mixon to come back, it's gray. What does that even mean? Just say he's not coming back this year. Just say he's not coming back this season. All of this nebulous, just from the teams, whether it's why this player was missing 6 plays, why these 2 players were not in for the first series, when this player is expected to be coming back. It just drives you nuts, and it's all just because they want to keep everything away from the other teams, or maybe even from gambling. But who knows? But definitely picking the Bills. Bills have the better quarterback of the 2. I think they have the better team when everybody decides not to be late to anything. Kincaid will be back. Hopefully Keon Coleman will be on time for everything, so he can be in there. So it's the wheel of Gabe isn't the only receiver, but I'm picking the Bills. Bills are the stronger by far of the 2 teams, while the Texans would not surprise me, especially with how this last week has gone. I've got to pick the Bills. It makes sense. You look at both units. Texans may have the better defense, but you got to pick the Bills because the Bills have the better quarterback. And if you know anything, the NFL revolves around the quarterback. And that's it for me. Hope you have a fantastic Wednesday evening. We'll be back with Flying Ryan tomorrow with the Week 11 whip around. And then Friday will be Week 12 picks. And and we'll see if I have any hope. I have any hope at all with my Guillotine League because I'm just down to the last three. Yes, I know you don't care about my fantasy teams, but made it to the last three teams. But this probably my luck has run out because I look at the point totals for the other two teams that I'm still with. I'm like, I'm probably El Dunzo. This week I did some waivers. I picked up Drake May because I'm starting him instead of Baker Mayfield because that LA Rams matchup does not at all fill me with confidence for the Bucs. I'm also starting Stephon Diggs. I'm counting on the Patriots to absolutely go nutso against the Cincinnati Bengals because they don't have a defense. Their defense is non-existent. It's paper tissue. And I'm also starting JSN. So I'm hoping for such an incredible point output that I become the second place team and the other team becomes a third place team and they get chopped. Because with the Guillotine League, the lowest point of that week gets chopped and removed from the league, and all their players go to the waiver wire. So, we'll see if I can pull off a miracle of miracles. And that's it for me. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your hump day as the sun has dipped below the horizon here on the East Coast. And we get ready for Wednesday, who transition into Thursday night football. And I drafted a fantasy basketball league. Haven't done that in a while because everybody who I knew with the names was pretty much injured. Yeah, because what I heard on Mad Dog Russo that, 20, I think something like 40 players who make about $20 million, or that was the quote, and they're all injured. So I'm like, yikes. But because everyone is going through like injured. Okay, and I am really wrapping things up. I'm really shutting up as I'm seeing my personal timer blink red. So remembering back to the days of Toastmasters. So take care, and I'll see you mañana.